So the strike action as declared by the public sector workers is still on. Well, government deems this to have been illegal. As a result of that, government has gone to court. That is the ministry, to be a little more precise, through the Attorney General. Right. Is that the way to go?
Well, there is a legislation backing the pension scheme, and this was approved in Parliament. Now, government has the right, when government feels that its right is also being trampled upon. And the labor unions also have the right to embark on any demonstration when they feel that their rights are being trampled upon. That is why we are in the democracy. But this issue didn't start today. I believe that the early warning signals started long time ago. And in fact, government is also facing a lot of challenges in terms of the economic issues, coupled with this single spine salary structure and so on and so forth. So in terms of resources, government is really in a very tight corner. But as we all know, things are going to be improved, or things are now improving. And that is the good aspect of our economy. But then, when it comes to this issue of the labor union strike, I believe that there are laid down processes. And it seems, for now, most of our institutions have turned down on the laid down processes that will enable somebody to go on strike. And for me, I believe that it is one issue that we need to manage as a country. Because it seems indiscipline is permeating through all our everything within the society. You're saying the
workers are indisciplined?
I'm not saying workers are indisciplined. But what I'm saying is that the leadership, the processes through which they are embarking on the demonstration is not right. Because we all know the processes that are laid down to enable workers' unions go on strike. And once those things are not, those processes are not followed, and we tend to tie the hands of government by using strike actions, it makes negotiations also very difficult. Because one, sitting at the table negotiating will take some time. And if you say you are on strike, let us go and sit at the table and discuss the issues. Do you have to go on strike before we sit at the table to negotiate? Did the government listen to the early warning signs? What was government's role in responding to the early warning signals? You know, you can't blame workers as a whole. It's a government-worker relationship. So what role did each of them play in order to ensure that there is harmony? If the lapses is coming from government, then government has to bridge that gap. If the lapses are also coming from the workers' union, then they also have to see reason and come to the negotiation table so that this issue is real. Because at the end of the day, what they are looking for in terms of where the resources should be put will be done, because there is a law backing this thing. And government is also saying that we cannot just hand over the money to you for you to invest. No, because the law doesn't say that. So if that is how you want it, then let's go to the court.
What does the law say?
For the court to interpret.
Okay, we do understand that. But government also foremost, and if we read the Daily Graphic, it said the statement of claim said the plaintiff felt the grievance based upon which the aggrieved labor groups resorted to the indefinite strike was grossly misconceived and without any basis, as the appointment of a trustee to manage the second-tier pension of public sector workers is exclusively the preserve of the employer, that is the government of the Republic of Ghana. Just like for private sector to be exclusively to the preserve of whoever is employed.
You know, but what the labor unions are saying is that they want to appoint the institutions that will manage their funds for them.
Fund managers.
And you know, as you rightly read, that is what the law says. So this is an issue that you can easily sit down with government and then Giorgio, whilst not embarking on demonstration. And then when government sees reason because government also wants to protect workers. Because at the end of the day,
do you understand that in issues of labor and labor relationship, is about trust, and it's about how you are in a position to always relate to the other party.
Exactly.
And so, if government takes this very course of action, how then can't we draw the conclusion that the relationship will become more frosty?
Well, that is not. I don't think that will be the case, because government is also trying to make the labor unions understand why it is taking those measures. Do you get it? Because in the first place, labor unions don't want to see eye to eye with the government on this issue. They think what they feel to be done should be what government should adhere to. And government also thinks that no, my sole aim is to protect the entire workers. I'm also part of it. Those in public sector employment are all part of this particular thing going on. And government fears is that if this thing is given to you to manage and there is a problem, who will be held responsible? It's the same government.
What's your opinion?
For me,
I think
I think government should actually sit down with the labor unions and then look at the broader issues. Look at the interests of every worker within the country and not the interests of individuals or groups. No. It should be something that will embrace all of us. Because at the end of the day, when there's a problem with these pension funds, I bet you these labor unions will be nowhere to address the issue. Because when it's time for you to go to pension and your funds have been mismanaged, whom are you going to hold responsible? It's the same government. Because the law says that it is the government who has to appoint the trustees to do what? To ensure that these funds is managed for the two of us. So if we allow the labor unions to just say, we want to bring our institutions to manage the funds, the government just says, okay, take your money and then go and manage, and something happens, whom do you think will be blamed? It is the government. But you have allowed it. So please, let us all see reason. Let us all calm down. Let us come to the negotiation table. We should go back to the classroom. We should go back to our offices. Today, some hospitals are turning away patients as a result of this.
They're on strike.
But is it necessary? For me, it is not necessary.
Now, government decision to sue the workers, and we've had officials from the GMA, etc., even come to make statement that they'll meet government in court. If it takes if both sides take such hardline positions, it doesn't bode well for whoever is accessing their services.
No, you see,
at the end of the day, is the normal consumer who suffers.
You know what?
And the economy will be at a loss as well.
Sometimes when negotiation fails,
force must be applied.
We are in the rule of law. No, I'm not going to use that. We are in the rule of law. The courts are there to interpret some of the laws we have on our books. Government wants to be very decisive on this issue. Okay? This is your stance. This is what we also think as a government. Okay, let's go to the courts. When the court comes out with a final, definitive a decision on that issue, I don't think any of us will be even agitating further, because once the court says this is what should be done, it's a finality.
It's a very interesting issue.
Yeah, and I think that is why the reasons why government wants to take that direction. And for me, I totally agree, because this is not an issue that we should embark on strike. No.
Over pensions?
No. One.
Or you mean the lack of agreement should
should not be the yardstick.
Because at the heart or the thrust of this whole debate is about pensions.
Exactly.
The second tier contributions of workers.
And we can do this negotiation outside strike actions. Do you get it? There's a difference where government says, I'm not going to negotiate with you. Government has taken a unilateral stance on the issue. But here, government wants to sit at the table with you, and you are saying, we will embark on the strike and then force you to adhere to what we want. This particular type of strike that is happening in the country, it is about time government takes a decisive decision on it. And I think the courts are the best place for all of us. When the court decides, then everything comes to an end. Once people are not ready to sit down and jojo, That is the only alternative left for government.
And it depends on which tabloid or daily you're looking at. On the front where the news statement, it says NDC governments use workers. we know where this one to maybe coming from.
Yeah, definitely it will have a political thing. But these are not issues that involve.
But no matter how we want to take a look at it, why is it that the workers are very much unwilling to trust government? That if government is involved in the management of their second-tier contributions, perhaps they feel that it's not going to end well. Is it because of the experiences they've had with SSNIT and the concerns that have been raised over the years?
Well, SSNIT, we've had problems with SSNIT. They've gone into some bad investments.
Is it many bad investments or some bad investments?
Well, you can't say many. Some bad investments. They've also gone into very good investments all over the country that we see. These unions, they are also going to go into investments. And investment is a risk area. You are going to involve yourself into risks. And at the end of the day, when there is a failure, it amounts to the same thing. So what the unions are doing does not mean that they are going into investments that are going to yield so much interest or will be beneficial to workers' interests. Are you saying that government would not like to invest its resources in areas that will accrue enough profits to enhance our living standards? This is the same thing.
But we going by the experiences of SSNIT and the concerns that have been raised by workers,
the question is, has SSNIT collapsed?
They have legitimate issues.
No. Since we were all born, we've gone through the system. We've entered into public employment. SSNIT has been in existence. SSNIT is expanding. SSNIT is ensuring that workers' benefits are being catered. I have never heard anywhere where a pensioner has not been paid his pension or retirement benefit by SSNIT. I've never heard such a thing. The only challenge we have is sometimes we have bad investments. And for that one, any normal investments that we do, it is not all investments that will yield fruitful outcomes. If some investments will be bad, other investments will be very good and very attractive. So where the investment is attractive, you push in more resources. Where the investments have not been beneficial, you withdraw. And I think all these things are being done by SSNIT. I've not heard anywhere in this country where a pensioner, pension funds have not been paid, whilst he or she have gone on pension. I have never heard that, unless maybe somebody comes and then tell us that he's gone for a pension and his pension benefits has not been paid. But that is the system we find ourselves. They think the unions think they can manage their own funds, but you should look at the law and then use the law to enhance what you want. You get it? The appointing authority is government. So go to government. Put your cards on the table. Reason with government. Let government understand why you want to do this. But if you want to use the back door to get what you want, I don't think it's right. And that is what we are facing as a country today.
And as the unions withdraw their services fully, we're also being told that by the unions themselves that they are very much unaware of the suits. They've not been petitioned.
Oh well, when you are sued, definitely you have to be served. And if they claim they've not been served, fine. But definitely, once it is the intention of government to go to court, definitely they have to serve the workers' union on that, so that they will also know what to do. But for me, I think this is needless. We need not to get to this stage. But this is something we can do behind closed doors, whilst we go about our normal daily activities at our workplaces. It doesn't call for any sit-down strike. At the end of the day, we are hurting the economy. We are creating a lot of health issues for the people, because health workers have also gone. The students are now going to write final exam you see them loitering about. Just recently, I was in the central region. We visited so many communities, and the children were just loitering about. And these same children are going to write their final exams in November. So at the end of the day, it is going to have an effect on even the outcome. You see? And we, the same people, will come back and then blame government for children not passing their exam. So it is not right. This is not something that we should, because I'm also affected. Government also takes part of my resources for my pension. Does it mean that members of parliament should refuse going to parliament? No. We can't allow the nation to come to a halt. That is why we have people who negotiate on our behalf. Let us allow the people to negotiate, whilst we also go about our normal duties.
But these are the leaders, the chief negotiators, who now
but the decisions that they have taken
based on the memberships agreement.
The decisions that they have taken, for me, is totally wrong. Assuming members of parliament also go on strike.
You can go, but I think you are usually serve your mode of emolument.
No, the same thing. We also pay our pension.
Well, I know. Yeah. I'm not saying you don't pay, but you are Article 71 office holders.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, your gratuity and end of service benefit is
not at all.
It's packaged at the end of the 4 years.
It involves risks, a lot of risks.
I'm not saying there's no risk involved.
Yeah, you need to consider that. Because sometimes we talk about the gratuity.
Anyway, you are
forgetting about the risks involved.
Legislators are not the issue we're discussing. We're talking about.
But what I'm saying is that we could as well also embark on strike.
You want to embark on strike?
No. The military, the police service, any other public
security
sector,
services.
Exactly. But they are going about their duty.
But in the labor law, they are considered as essential services.
Is the health workers not considered as essential services?
Yeah, they're also considered.
Then why? It is only the health workers who always want to do
Probably
this.
government pays a lot more attention to the other ones than the health workers.
It is never true. Look, if we want to debate, these are things that we don't even want to go into it at this moment. It makes the whole thing milky. But for me, what the health service providers normally do, I don't think it is the right thing. We always want to use that essential service position to tie the hands of government. And it is about time. For me, government should go to court and then let the judiciary take a decision on it. And then we all comply. If the judiciary comes out to say that government should release the resources to them, then we go and amend the law. Because the law gives the right to government. For me, that is what we pass in parliament. Yes. So all what the unions have to do is to rather come to government, do a proper negotiation. You see, open up. Let us be more of consensus building than always trying to be antagonistic, hold government to ransom. At the end of the day, it hurts the entire economy, and we will all suffer. We will all suffer at the end of the day. So you want to improve something, and then at the end of the day, the tactics that you are using is rather what? Hurting everybody. It doesn't solve the economic good.
So now we're waiting for the court case, then a decision, if taken,
if that is what the unions want the government to embark upon, fine. But for me,
is government not taking a very hardline position?
No, it's as a result of what the labor unions are doing. That is because, you are playing people's emotions against government. Okay. Meanwhile, you know very well that there is a law backing what government is doing. If you say you want to see where the funds are lodged, it is a different thing. Okay. Government has taken the funds. We want to see where the funds have been invested. That is a different thing altogether. But if you say no, that is not your interest. You want to manage the funds yourself. Meanwhile, you know the law does not allow that. Do you get it?
Is it not because they don't trust government to manage the funds? That's the whole point I have. And I've been
they don't trust government to manage the funds. SSNIT has managed pension funds.
And the workers have not been happy. All these years, they've not been happy.
What is the reason? They need to tell us. Are they being paid their end of service benefits? Are their pension emoluments not being paid? If these are the matters, then let us know. Or maybe they think the investments that are being made are not yielding much, how do you call it, profits. That is also a different thing. But you need to sit down with government and then build a consensus.
Okay. Now, we've been told that private sector workers in the country have also given government end of November to transfer their 2 years Tier 2 contributions to their fund managers of phase thereof. And, well, the contributions cover from, we know, the period 2010 to end of 2011. And we've had ICU members telling the finder that the new pensions act, etc., and it goes on and all. So it doesn't really include public sector workers as well. Now the private sector
that's
workers.
why I'm saying that they are playing on the emotions of the citizenry. You see, people are taking such issues simply because of what the main body, that's the TUC, is embarking upon. And you know, when it comes to pension funds, that is people's livelihood after retirement. And once it is being played out that it's likely at the time of your retirement, you are not going to get the benefit that you deserve as a worker who has served this nation. Definitely, people will be emotionally attached to it. And definitely, private sector workers will also like to know what is there. But for me, there is a law, and we should look at the law and see that whatever we are doing, is it in conformity with the law? That is how a society is governing. We can't decide that this is what we want, and therefore government should do it. Once we know there are laid down rules and regulations guiding whatever we are asking for. So please, we all have a stake in the pension scheme. The funds, we all have a stake in it. But then let us use the appropriate channels. Let us build consensus. Let's approach government in a friendly manner, and then convince government the need for us to what? Manage this thing privately and not to be confrontational. It will not help all of us. Today, the entire nation is suffering as a result of this strike. Yes, economic activities are going down. The health of the people is going to deteriorate. Education is also going to suffer as a result. What have we achieved as a people?
Okay, Dr. Shai, serving as a Labor Relations Minister this morning.